Welcome back to the Stuff for Whatever podcast. Your host BQuanchi here. Before we get started, I always like to say the best way to support the channel is to like, comment, and subscribe. Watch, engage, all that. Appreciate any feedback. YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch are the three main ones. You can follow on Twitter to catch updates, other fun tweets, and all that. And Twitch, where I stream gaming roughly 3 nights a week, and those gaming VODs, stream VODs, whatever, are uploaded back to the YouTube channel. Doing a lot of stuff too. And it's kind of weird because this is more of a hobby than anything else. I know a lot of times I'm just repeating myself when no one's listening, but I've been working on other types of videos too. A lot of more video games centric, but yeah, all full focus of BQuanchi. You can find links for that in the descriptions of videos or about on the channel. So I appreciate that. So we got a very special podcast this week. Before I get started, last podcast, I was a little upset because it was the first little podcast video that I had my little mascot character, and then I noticed I'm not sure if it was that audible or not, but like my neighbor upstairs was like taking a shower like in the afternoon for like 30 minutes or like for most of the podcast, and I was like, ugh. I didn't notice that because I tried to do a little test with the microphone, and I think maybe if you're wearing headphones, it's a little bit more noticeable. I was like, that's some things like I also want to mention, like if any like small tubers or anyone else who tries to like do content. I say that loosely say content creation, but I almost get tempted. I seen on Amazon like there's like a foam box you can get that you can put your microphone in to help reduce sound. I do have a HyperX Quadcast, I believe. I just know it has a really nice red light that just draws me to it, like a moth to the flame. So I have a pretty good microphone. It has like adjustments to it, but I feel like it still picks up a lot more than I would like. So that's why I'm almost tempted to like get one of those box things. That it's kind of like the soundproof foam, but it's like designed to be like a box shape that you put your microphone in. So I'm a little tempted on that. And some other things like I don't do too much like in terms of my videos or uploads on the YouTube channel, but I have like a free movie maker app that works good. Like one thing that I really like about it is that it doesn't do a stupid watermark, anything like that, like, oh, this is a watermark, but if you pay for it, then we remove it. So I'm just tempted to kind of look around because there's some complaints, like if there's more editing, it's a little bit more frustrating. Like it'd be nice to like duplicate clips or versus like re-uploading the video again. And like if you had a long upload, like my stream VODs, and then you wanted to edit it down and use that clip multiple times, like you really can't. It seems like it only boosts the audio for video once, which is kind of annoying. Like I noticed a lot of times with like at least Twitch uploads or not Twitch uploads, but like Twitch broadcast and clips, highlights, the audio seems less than it should be. So I try to pump the game for my stream VODs and stuff like that, but I wish I could do a little bit more, or at least. Because my only alternative is to like boost volume, then re-import the video in the editor, and then boost it again. It gets a little bit more frustrating when it comes to like if I do a video with I want to add a little background music. It's kind of hard to like fine tune it. So if anyone's listening, have like a really good free video editor recommendation, I'll be glad to hear it. Ideally, I would love to. It's been ages since I touched it, but Adobe Premiere Pro is something that's really cool, but I think you have to like do like a subscription. I'm not sure if you can just like buy it these days because I was in school, so I got it for free, but that expired. So I ideally would like to have something like Premiere Pro, but I'm not too big, especially with some of my edits. Like sometimes if I do a little bit more, it gets a little bit more frustrating. And also just going on with like shop talk or whatever. Like maybe this is interesting for people who want to do content, but I say a lot, but pretty much all my thumbnails and art and all that, it's as simple as it is. I use this website Pixlr, Pixlr, and it did this really incredibly stupid thing. I even think like flooded their Reddit, but now they're charging for downloads. It's like if you save a project and like want to export, like, oh, I'm going to save this as a JPEG or a PNG or something. It was 2 daily, but I think they bumped it up to 3. But it's like, oh, if you pay 75 cents a month, you can get unlimited downloads and no ads. And that seems really stupid. Also, it seems very cheap, but it's just really frustrating to have like another recurring fee. Like, who knows if they're going to change? Like, oh, we bump up this fee, and if you continue to use the service, and you agree to this higher fee. So I get really, I say like, anxious or I don't know. I just like I don't want to dive into like another subscription fee, even if it's like dirt cheap. It's like I just don't want to. And even for like my thumbnail creation, a lot of times I just been hitting print screen and then copy and paste into Paint or whatever, and then do that for a lot of my thumbnails. 'Cause I did do with this little mascot character you see in the lower corner, which is pretty much me in animal form. I'm not sure if I said it last time when I kind of introduced him, but if people mistake me for a furry, then more power to them, and I'm almost kind of hoping for that, even though I don't get too much attention or notice online. I also mentioned Pixlr is kind of like a free online Photoshop. Like they have like I guess like pro version you can pay for that has more tools. It's pretty good. I did really enjoy it. It's one of those things I stumbled upon and like, oh, it works good. But then I've been seeing alternatives. I think one I haven't played around with it much, but it's called GIMP, GIMP. One of the things that Pixar is really good about, like saving your projects, like on the website versus like actually saving them to your computer. So if I want to like update a VOD, update a thumbnail for a VOD, I can just change the picture or change like the number or text and stuff like that. So I almost feel like since it's in place, it works for now. Especially if it has unique fonts, I don't want to like change things. But just something worth mentioning. I'm not sure how much I can double back because I did notice that they went from 2 free downloads to 3 free downloads for like if you say project. But again, I print screen and all that. But if you like were more like, hey, you want to export like all the layers and stuff like that, because also when I was in school a long time ago, actually for game design, not only did I have experience with I say experience, a very slight experience with Premiere Pro, but I did use Photoshop a lot to kind of understand a little bit of it. And having like a cheap, free version of it seems good. But I think GIMP is more open source, so and I mean they may need to play around with that. But if anyone's looking for alternatives, I hear GIMP is the best one. And the last thing, talking about this stupid hobby of just making stuff for videos, is I think I might have mentioned it last week, but I remember a lot of times I just like when I plan scripts for like game reviews or commentaries and stuff like that, I use like a notebook, like actually old school pen and paper. I'm experimenting with using Google Docs. I have a little complaint about word processors, but I like you use Google Docs, the word processor, to like type things out. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to kind of like plan or grammar, spelling check. It does when I write stuff, I get a little bit like maybe just because it's so like condensed with my handwriting, and it's also my poor handwriting is that it's hard to like adjust, especially if I want to change things around. So I did write 2 scripts or whatever we wanted to call it, like 2 video ideas. I just have to record the audio for and edit. So we'll see how this works out. I just get worried about staring at a computer screen, but I think it'll work fine just like using a teleprompter. So I want to experiment with that just because I feel like my other videos are... I feel like a lot of times it's too segmented. Like sometimes I read like a line or 2, or just like, okay, on to the next one, because there's so much time I cut out, like so many bad takes. So maybe it's just like a thing I need to work on as well. But okay, my last rant about this is that why is like Microsoft Word like so a pain in the ass to get? Like I would actually have that on my computer, but it feels like, I don't know, maybe I need to revisit it, but it feels like, oh, you have to buy the package like Microsoft Office that has Excel and PowerPoint and all this bullshit you don't need and won't need. And I think they even do like a subscription too. I think you buy the big thing is like a couple $100, which is like fuck that. But Google Docs works the same, and I know this Google Docs does it really good. Like, it's constantly like saving your work, at least with a word processor. So it feels like if something happened, you don't lose your work. You always have access to it, unless you don't have internet access, which is like never happens. It's just like, oh, it's just a lot more convenient. Because when I bring back my pen and paper, I think I left one of my notepads in California with family and stuff like that when it's on vacation. Because like, oh, maybe I'll just write stuff, and then like, oh. Because it was for a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 video I really want to make, but I have to kind of start from scratch besides having the footage from a previous stream. But it's like, oh yeah, that's stuff I'm working on, and just kind of thinking out loud, and maybe this is helpful for anyone else. So next thing I want to talk about on the podcast is Monster now has an alcoholic drink. I think it's just a malted beverage-like thing. I'm tempted to get it, but because I would say Monster is one of my favorite energy drinks out there. So I think it's still just like an energy drink, but I did notice I almost picked it up, but at the grocery store they only had in like a variety pack that's like more than I wanted to pick up at the time. You have like maybe like a 12 pack or maybe 24 pack. I forget how big it was. Because they have 4 flavors and all that. But I think the big deal is that it's been 21 years since Monster like first came out on the market. It's like, oh, now make it alcoholic. It's just 6% alcohol per volume, and it seems interesting. But one of my things is like, I pretty much always drink Monster with vodka or flavored vodka. So I was like, a lot. Well, not all the time, because sometimes I'll grab a Monster at work, and of course I'll be out of the can and not alcoholic. But a lot of times I drink Monster alcoholic. I'm not sure. I always hear mixed things when it comes to like caffeinated drinks. At least like energy drinks and alcohol. But I know like what was it called, like, is it Jaeger bombers, or I like Red Bull with Jaeger used to be like a big thing. And I think Monster might be the only energy drink that's doing an actual commercial alcoholic version. I don't know if there's Mountain Dew, but that's a little bit different because that's more like a caffeinated soda. But obviously, I don't think there's too much caffeinated stuff. I think Four Loko might be, but I haven't touched that stuff in a while. But it's very tempting. I almost just want to get all the flavors and do like a taste test. I'm not sure that'd be maybe like a YouTube short. Or that reminds me too, I want to talk about like more social media stuff that's been going on in the news. But I've been hearing YouTube shorts since they brought monetization to it. It's kind of a wah-wah kind of thing. Like, I remember hearing like animators like, oh, that'd be so cool. You can do like animated shorts and stuff like that, and kind of like bring that back, because then like animation has kind of taken a fall. That's very old news too, but it seems like a lot of times like YouTube is based off watch time and quantity more than quality. It just varies a lot, but since animation like takes a lot of time to produce, although I notice a lot of animation channels are doing more like teams and stuff like that, so it's not just like one person doing all of the work. But complaint with how much time you make a short video and not make much. But shorts are kind of like I hear like they don't make too much, especially with the amount of views and stuff like that. So unless it's something that's really easy to make, like a TikTok, like a in front of the camera kind of thing, I feel like when it comes to shorts and animation, like maybe if someone's doing like an animation project or just like animations in general on YouTube, just like take a clip of that video, and then especially if like it's a rewatchable kind of clip, just saying like clip that and put it as a short, just because that might get a lot of views too. So I don't know too much about shorts. I haven't made any shorts, not that I have much reason to, but I feel like if it can be very low effort, then do it. Especially if it can get like shareable, rewatchable moments. But it from what I've seen online, it's a little disappointing with the YouTube shorts. So next, I want to talk about the upcoming Pokemon Directs coming, I believe, next week. I can't remember. I think it's either early March. Maybe it might be upcoming, but I'm going to make my predictions about it. Like, I want to say I'm a diehard Pokemon fan, but I've been really enjoying, I got Pokemon Violet and all that. So I wanted to make some predictions about the Pokemon Direct. Some things I would like to see that we probably won't, or things that fans have been, yelling for a while or been wanting. But what I'm hoping for is that they'll announce DLC for Scarlet and Violet. I think we're due for it, at least an announcement. And I'm trying to think when Sword and Shield come out, like how soon it was or how long it's been out since they announced a DLC. So that'll be something to look forward to. So that seems to make sense, but who knows? I feel like it's a lot of things with like Nintendo and like Pokemon, like a lot of stuff that they don't put out until it's like more closer to release or launch. I would like to see DLC, at least some plans for it, since I didn't do anything for Legends Arceus and all that. And I think it was like very small updates. I think maybe just a Pokemon Home. But that's another thing. I would like to see Pokemon Home be integrated in Scarlet and Violet. I'm trying to think because I'm trying to think when Sword and Shield came out, like how long they had Home. Because I think Home came out and then they integrated that. Of course, with like Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu, since that already was released. But it's like for like Shining Diamond and is Shining Diamond. I forget. I think it's Shining Diamond and Brilliant Pearl for the remakes for 4th gen. But that took a while. Then like for Arceus 2 or I think it's Arceus, whatever. But I would like to see that because I want to kind of import all my Pokemon from the previous generation to Scarlet and Violet, especially on my shinies as well. So I hope we get a planned date for home integration, Pokemon home integration until Scarlet and Violet. I think some other predictable stuff we're showing in Direct is possibly in the anime more details. I know that's a big thing about the changing protagonists from Ash to these new people. I think it's going to focus on the current gen. I'm not sure. Then maybe there's going to be predictable stuff like, oh, here's an update about Pokemon Go, which everyone always knows about, or Pokemon Unite, and those details we already know about. And Pokemon Masters EX, the little mobile game that I gave up on just because, I don't know, it crashes a lot for me. It seems cool, but I don't know. And there's been kind of buzz, or at least like ever since Nintendo announced Game Boy and Game Boy Advance, people wanting like the old school like Pokemon Red and Blue and Emerald, Ruby Sapphire for GBA. I'm not sure if we can see that. It would be interesting. It would also be cool to see, even if they like resold them as individual titles, not on NSO, because it would be fun to see. Like older gens get like that Pokemon Home integration too, so you can kind of like migrate all Pokemon. I'm not sure if they're ever going to plan to have a full national Dex again, but especially with 3rd gen, because I know Gen 1 pretty much has the Let's Go series, and now with Gen 2, I would like to see that as well, because it seems like because it remade Violet. Diamond and Pearl, you can use Home to import those Pokemon, at least what you're allowed to, and especially with the Arceus as well. I think that's what we're going to typically expect, is like maybe update on the anime, maybe DLC, maybe plans for home integration and all that. And I think some oddball predictions is, I know people have been wanting like a Let's Go for Gen 2. I think like mock box art, like do like Let's Go Pichu. I think if they do that, they'll probably keep it with a cute mascotty Pokemon. So maybe like Let's Go Togepi and Let's Go Pichu if they do 2 versions. I'm not sure how much they focus on that, 'cause I'm not sure they ever will revisit the Let's Go game and format again. That'd be interesting to see. And some other oddballs, like I haven't really played them, but there's the Pokemon Rangers and Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. I think was it a remake or was it like an updated or one? I know there's a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon on Switch, but I'm not sure if they have any additional titles and all that. But that might be something I need to dip into as well. Also, they're probably going to do like an update for the Pokemon Puzzle, the like little cafe one. They probably have updated Direct. One thing I would like to see as well, even though I pretty much just played a demo, but the Pokken tournament, that would be interesting to see again. Again, they do like a new sequel or follow up to that. So I think oddball prediction is maybe a new Let's Go uh, title, a new Pokken tournament, and people have been wanting another Legends series. Like people say maybe Legends Celebi or maybe one of the other Pokemon games. I'm not sure if we're gonna see that. I know since so much people really liked Arceus, I think that makes sense. But who knows what they're working in the background. I think also like my fourth oddball prediction is possibly a Pokemon Black and White remake. I'm not sure if they're gonna plan to do like all the previous titles. I think maybe to do like a DS and 3DS one that would make some sense. Especially like Diamond and Pearl was DS, so maybe Black and White, maybe combine it with Black and White 2. Although it's same gen, just like story wise the difference. But it would be interesting if they actually announce a Black and White sequel for Switch. But we'll see. But I think maybe most of it will be a bunch of boring expected stuff. But at least if they hit that DLC and home integration for Scarlet and Violet, that I'll be happy with that. So now I want to talk about some internet stuff and social media because it feels with this might be old news as well, but it just kind of feels like the internet's just imploding with all these social media. Like I don't know if you want to call them like controversies or just like either bad decisions or like it feels like a lot of times it's like, oh, these companies want to make a good user experience and then they make all these shitty decisions and all that. So I'll start first with Twitter because I haven't seen them double back on this, but Twitter, I think, yeah, it's going to be next month for March, is that they're going to make it so you can't have two-factor authentication unless you have Twitter Blue. So like having people like disable that. It's got a lot of people pissed off too. I remember I talked about this working at a call center for like a credit card, and I remember I worked for like the tech support department as well, and that would be like one of our biggest like demand or complaint is to have two-factor authentication. So it's really important to people, and like a lot of complaints like that's a basic. I think it's a pretty solid one, but I think it's like basic security, and now it's locked behind a paywall that you have to have Twitter Blue if you want two-factor. And there's like arguments with it, like people saying, oh, there's like other apps you can use, there's other things you can use to have that two-factor. But it feels like if it's that simple, like why put it behind a paywall? Like if you're trying to enhance security and like, and when it comes to social media, like you worry about like bots and scams and impersonation, stuff like that. Like security is a big deal to people. Like why make this a hassle? Like why put this behind a paywall? So, I know Twitter Blue has been kind of expanding a little bit more. I know when it first came out it was just on iOS, but now it's on, I think either Windows or the full website. So I think it hasn't come to Android yet. So who knows? I think they would at least have it in place because if it's like it feels like they're really trying to make money from Twitter. It's funny because I saw a tweet about Elon Musk like saying you got a nonprofit for $44 million, but I don't know. It just feels like maybe trying really hard to get money back. And also speaking of Twitter and Elon Musk, I'm not sure how much truth to the story, but there was like concerns about articles that are critical, like Tesla, which is an Elon company. Like if you hit like or retweet, it would be like a little pop up. It wouldn't prevent you from like liking or retweeting it, but like, hey, I think it's like saying that the source is questionable, but I think the website was based in China or the company was. And it was like basically like all of a sudden people's like afterwards like, oh, we weren't seeing this pop up anymore, or we were seeing with this website. But I don't know. It was kind of confusing because it seemed like it came across like Elon Musk trying to censor or put down like the spread of criticism versus his companies or products or whatever, but something worth mentioning. And another thing coming to social media is I want to mention that this is also not too new news, but Facebook, they're coming up with a subscription service. And it's basically, it seems pretty steep too, but I think it's like 12 or $14 depending if you do it on Windows or whatever, or iOS. It's pretty much like, for the gist of it, just to help with impersonation, like kind of have almost kind of like that security or insurance. Like if someone tried to impersonate you on Facebook, even having like a direct or at least a more direct customer service support. And that just is so bizarre. Like it feels like that should be included, or like, hey, we're concerned about the user experience and security. That's really important to us. But like, hey, if you wanted security, you had to fucking pay us each month. So it almost feels like being hassled. And I think it would just like deter people from using the platform than anything else. But it almost becomes a situation like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if like, oh, I don't use Facebook, but then again, somehow your photos or whatever were used to make other profiles and people impersonate you, then you have to worry about someone's like scamming or fraud. I'm sure there's like things around that, like if someone's committing fraud, even though they're using your name and photo, like you prove like, hey, that's not me, and all that. So it almost feels like, oh, just to have that secured just in case like shit hits the fan, you had to pay Facebook $12 a month. So I think like a little bullshit, in my opinion. So we'll see how that flies. But yeah, always hear so much people complain about Facebook. To me, it's just my bubble when it comes to like family and friends. So outside, I don't want to use Facebook that much. It is what it is, but I feel like that's just so annoying just to have like, oh, if you're concerned about security impersonation and this and that, like pay us money and all that. And then the last social media platform I want to talk about for the moment is YouTube. Again, also not too new of news, but they have a new CEO. I'm not sure how soon the transition is or if it's already in place. Susan Wojcicki stepping down. I forget the guy's name. I know it's some guy, but I've seen some criticism that this guy is very supportive of cryptocurrency and even NFT and NFT integrations. I'm not sure if that's going to be forced on YouTube or encouraged or supported. So we'll have to wait and see. So it's a little cautious, but we'll see what happens with YouTube. Because I know a lot of people make jokes about Susan Wojcicki and all that, but I feel like she was more just the face of the CEO. I know, I think it was early when she took over, I forget, but she was like trying to have a YouTube channel and try to be a YouTuber. I did the cringy video like asking other creators like, oh, how do you be a good YouTuber, YouTube channel? And then like, I think that just this gets a lot. I think it's like backlash. You know, I feel like that's harsher word, but like that's just total cringe and stuff like that. Like a big CEO who's trying to be in touch with, you know, the general population, I guess you can say, for lack of a better word. But they'd kind of be like, "Oh, I'm just like you. I have a YouTube channel and all that, and trying to be a vlogger." And like, I don't want to say like stay in your lane, bitch, but stay in your lane. So we'll see. One thing I want to complain about YouTube, I mentioned this like I think last podcast, the one before, I had for my first time, well actually, I had other videos, for some reason my very, very first podcast, which is cringe and old, and I definitely got better over time in terms of speaking or audio and all that, with different microphones and equipment. But I had a podcast that was limited advertising. Like, I know a lot of people say, like, oh, it's demonetized, but it's more like it's limited, and you still get, like, the YouTube premium revenue. But I appealed it, and it took a week and a half, like, almost 2 weeks to get a response back. Like, nope, it's still not ad-friendly, so tough shit. And I honestly don't know 100% for sure why it got demonetized. I know I kind of swear a lot. I know, like, that was a hot button issue as well with YouTube policy. Like, oh, you can swear, but not in like the first 7 seconds, or if it's consistent, and that's very loose term. Like, I wonder if they actually review it and like, oh, this still swears, so or because I can be like very excessive with it and how that can be. And I still don't really get the ad friendly stuff like that. Like, you know, unless it's really controversial. It's even funny, like that bit in that podcast I mentioned it is I was talking about how content can have like basically use of the C word, which I won't repeat. Maybe I shouldn't repeat that anymore, but not even I don't use it, but the big C word, like if you're playing football, you want to punt the ball, maybe it's similar to that kind of word. I feel like maybe that, because I heard that before, like that word gets a little bit more harshly like flagged in a sense with the YouTube system. And like you repeal it and like, oh, we repealed it, tough shit. Maybe I shouldn't say tough shit, but oh well. Because one of my biggest complaints, I just really wish it would give you more of a reason, because they don't tell you anything really. Like, oh, we reviewed it, but nope, that's it. Nope, too bad, so sad. Computer says no. Nope. Because if someone's reviewing it, they can say, here's a timestamp, this is the problem. Because I know like some people even had issues like violence, whether it be like video game violence or like a prop gun or an obvious edit and stuff like that. So I see like that's been used too generously when it comes to like flagging stuff as not advertisement friendly. So that's my biggest complaint. Besides, also, I feel like there's a lot of issues with the copyright stuff, like when it comes to fair use, whether it be like video game footage or commentary on like movies or TV shows. Which I can get that can be a little bit iffy too, but I always feel like we don't get that transparency, we don't get that benefit of doubt, we don't get that support from YouTube for the content creator. So sometimes I'm glad this isn't my bread and butter, but who knows? I would like to see more growth or just see more happen with what I'm putting out there. I'm seeing a tiny bit. I'm not sure if it's because I'm doing like more gaming stuff with like some Let's Plays or having this cute little mascot character in the corner and all that. So I'm not sure if that's like helping with growth in a way. It's way too soon to see, or I'm not seeing enough. But there's some less things I want to talk about. But also I wanted to leave this podcast with this note, and this is something I just want to get off my chest, and it's stupid. So if anyone else felt this way, let me know. But I want to talk about how a Don Bluth movie gave me nightmares when I was younger. Don Bluth, I know a lot of people confuse his work with Disney, like some of his early films were like The Land Before Time, Fievel, American Tail, like Fievel Goes West and all that. So a lot of those animated features. Ooh, Anastasia was a really big one. I feel like Anastasia was one of the big ones that get confused with Disney and Don Bluth. When I talk about what gave me nightmares is because what kind of triggered this reflection. I've seen like a video talking about some old Don Bluth movies and ranking them and commentary about that. But this was kind of considered a dark era, or the bad era, like when like studios have like make a bunch of bad movies or not quite as good, to be a little bit nicer. There was a movie called A Troll in Central Park, and those is one of the movies I saw. I'm pretty sure I got a theatrical release, but I only remember having the VHS of it. I wonder how many people listening to this know what a VHS is. That was before DVDs, and DVDs were before Blu-ray, and Blu-ray was before just having the content ready to stream or download digitally, but all that. But I bring this because there was a moment in A Troll in Central Park, like this troll who's like making stuff grow in terms of like I'm doing a really bad job summarizing it, but he like anyway, this troll finds himself in New York where like no green can grow because he has a green thumb, but he finds a little sanctuary in Central Park, and this is a little boy character and his little baby sister as well. But this part I forget exactly how it worked out because I only saw enough. Like I had to look it up on YouTube just to make sure to confirm. Okay, this was the movie that had this scene. Because I know there's like some ugly gremlin thingy, like the antagonist, but somehow put a spell on a boy that he was like crying, but he couldn't stop crying, and then his tears were like flooding the place. Like this is I haven't seen this boy crying. And it's one of those like kids like, oh, I'm like 10 years old, I'm not a little crybaby, but then he's like crying and trying to stop, and then his tears is causing a big flood, and then like the troll is trying to like have a bow. And his sister like keeps almost like drowning and stuff like that. So pretty much this almost scarred me and gave me nightmares because I thought like, oh, if I cry, like what if I cry too much and I flood the room, like I flood the house and stuff like that, and people will drown and all that. So I almost felt like I couldn't cry. I just had that visual of like this little boy like cry, like literally crying a flood. Like it is no joke, a flood of tears, like almost drowning his baby sister. And like I can't cry. Like I don't want to cry because then that's gonna flood everything and all that. So that's very irrational. But if one person can say, "Oh my God, I had that same thought too," like What's that one song? I forget who sings it, but like the story of a girl who cried a river and drowned the whole world. It's like that. So it's like that in a Don Bluth movie. And I don't know, that messed me up with like, oh, I can't cry because I'll flood everything and all that. And it's just one of those things that kind of made me uneasy. Even though the movie's considered one of his worst movies and not that good of the era, but something I just want to get off my chest. And hopefully I don't seem like a psycho for having those thoughts of being afraid to cry. Not because I don't want to show emotions or being sensitive. It's just like, I don't want to drown the world or drown the room or drown my baby sister. Anyways, I feel like this is a good stopping point for the podcast. So, again, the best way to support me in the channel is to like, comment, and subscribe. BQuanchi all around. You can find links in description of videos or about on the channel. I have to play in, but the typical you'll see stream VODs, Let's Plays. I am tempted. I keep repeating myself, but it's the Let's Plays have been a weekly thing. Just because I wanted to do too much. A lot of it's showcasing indie game demos or just like a lot of shorter formats. Because my streams are a little bit over an hour, almost an hour and a half. Which I've had more luck with Twitch and streaming. I'm not even an affiliate yet. I have like 150 streams on my repertoire. But all those VODs are on the channels. So check this out. Appreciate feedback and all that. And I'll see y'all next time. So y'all have a great day. Take care.